This wasn't supposed to be caught on camera, but once it was, everything changed. Late at night, in a place nobody expected, NBA YoungBoy's 4KT crew ran into members connected to OTF, and what happened next sent shockwaves through the streets. No music, no captions, no internet talk, just real tension, real faces, and a moment where one wrong move could have turned deadly. Witnesses say the energy instantly shifted. Phones went down. Voices got quiet. People around knew exactly what time it was. This wasn't clout chasing. This wasn't social media beef. This was street energy colliding in real life, and when that happens, there are no rewind buttons. What makes this situation even more dangerous is what didn't happen. No punches thrown. No shots fired. No screaming. Because in the streets, silence is louder than violence. And the silence after this run-in? It spoke volumes. Since that night, fans have been asking one question. Was this a warning, or the calm before something much worse? Because history tells us when crews cross paths like this, the fallout doesn't always come immediately. It comes later, when nobody is watching. In this video, we're breaking down exactly who was there, why this encounter matters more than people realize, and what this could mean for NBA YoungBoy, OTF, and the streets moving forward. Stay locked in, because once you hear the full story, you'll understand why everyone went quiet after this. To understand why this moment shook the streets, you have to understand who's involved, and why this run-in was never supposed to happen in the first place. NBA YoungBoy, also known as YoungBoy Never Broke Again, has never been just a rapper. Over the years, he's built a reputation that goes far beyond music. His loyalty to his circle, his unwillingness to back down, and his history of responding to tension on his own terms have made him one of the most watched and most feared figures in hip-hop culture. On the other side, you've got OTF, a name that carries weight everywhere from Chicago to Atlanta and beyond. OTF isn't just a label or a rap crew, it's a symbol. A tight-knit movement connected to years of street history, loyalty, and real-life consequences. When OTF members move, people notice. When they show up somewhere unexpected, people pay attention. That's why what happened that night instantly raised alarms. According to multiple sources close to the situation, neither side expected to cross paths. This wasn't a planned meetup. This wasn't a staged moment for clout. It was one of those rare situations where two powerful circles accidentally occupied the same space, and everyone present immediately understood the risk. The location itself made things worse. This wasn't a concert. Not a club packed with security. Not a public event with cameras everywhere. This was a low-key spot, late hours, minimal visibility. The kind of place where people assume they can move freely without drawing attention. That false sense of comfort disappeared the second faces were recognized. Words spread fast. Someone whispered a name. Someone else froze. And within seconds, the energy shifted from casual to cautious. When NBA YoungBoy's 4KT, affiliated crew realized who was nearby, there was no panic, just awareness. And when the OTF-connected individuals clocked who they were dealing with, they didn't rush or react either. That's the part outsiders don't understand. In the streets, chaos doesn't always start with noise. Sometimes it starts with eye contact, with body language, with silence. Every step, every movement suddenly carries meaning. Even the way someone stands can be interpreted as disrespect. Witnesses say both sides stayed composed, but tense. No one smiled. No one laughed. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Phones that were out just moments before were quickly put away. Because when real tension shows up, recording becomes dangerous. What made this run-in especially serious is the history leading up to it. For months, fans have noticed subtle signs of growing friction in the wider hip-hop landscape. Sneak disses. Lyrics that felt too specific to be coincidence. Social media moves that didn't sit right with certain camps. Nothing confirmed, nothing direct, but enough for people watching closely to sense something was brewing. NBA YoungBoy has always been known for addressing situations in unconventional ways. Sometimes he responds immediately. Other times, he goes completely quiet, only for his next move to speak louder than any words. That unpredictability keeps both fans and rivals guessing. OTF, on the other hand, has its own code. Public silence, private strategy. Rarely emotional. Rarely rushed. When they move, it's calculated. So when these two energies collided unexpectedly, it created a moment where anything could have happened, and that's what made it dangerous. People in the room say the encounter lasted only minutes, but it felt much longer. Every second stretched. Every sound echoed. Even security nearby reportedly hesitated, unsure whether stepping in would calm things down or make them worse. And then, just like that, it ended. No shouting. No threats caught on audio. No viral explosion right away. Both sides exited separately, without incident. On the surface, it looked like nothing happened. But anyone who truly understands street politics knows that nothing happening is sometimes the loudest message of all. Afterward, rumors spread quickly. Some claimed it was a warning. Others believed it was simply mutual respect preventing things from going left. A few insiders suggested the encounter itself was the message, a reminder that lines are thinner than people think. Fans online immediately began connecting dots. Why were they in the same place? Who knew ahead of time? Was this coincidence or fate? Neither camp addressed it publicly. No tweets. No Instagram lives. No captions. And that silence only made the situation feel heavier. Because when high-profile figures stay quiet after moments like this, it's rarely accidental. As days passed, people noticed subtle changes. Certain posts disappeared. Certain follows were removed. Lyrics started sounding different. Even the way affiliates moved online seemed more cautious. It was as if everyone involved understood that eyes were watching now. And then came the biggest question of all. Was this run-in the end of it, or the beginning of something much bigger? Because in hip-hop history, accidental encounters have often led to lasting consequences. Not always immediately. Sometimes weeks later. Sometimes months. But almost always when people least expect it. We'll break down what happened after that night, the behind-the-scenes moves fans didn't notice, the signals insiders picked up on, and why some believe this situation is far from over. Stay locked in because this story doesn't end here. After that night, the streets didn't explode, they froze. And for anyone who truly understands how real tension moves, that was the most alarming part of all. Normally, when a situation like this happens, something surfaces quickly. A post. A subtweet. A live video. Somebody speaks too much. Somebody wants credit for standing on business. But this time, nothing. Total silence from both sides. That silence wasn't accidental. Insiders say the hours following the run-in were filled with phone calls, not angry ones, not loud ones, but careful conversations. The kind that happen when people are trying to figure out whether a line has been crossed or narrowly avoided. Because once crews like these cross paths unexpectedly, it forces a question nobody wants to answer publicly. Was this chance, or was someone testing boundaries? NBA YoungBoy's camp has always moved differently. When pressure hits, they don't rush to explain. They don't jump online to clarify. Instead, they let time pass and allow their next move to speak for them. History has shown that when YoungBoy goes quiet after a tense moment, it usually means something is being calculated, not ignored. OTF operates under a similar philosophy, but with a different rhythm. They rarely acknowledge situations that don't benefit them. No validation. No emotional response. If something matters, it's handled privately. If it doesn't, it's treated like it never happened. That's why this situation became so unsettling. Because both sides stayed quiet. Fans started picking up on subtle signals, the kind you only notice if you're really watching. Affiliates stopped posting certain locations. Faces that were usually seen together weren't popping up anymore. Some people went ghost altogether. Others suddenly became very active, almost as if they were trying to distract from something else. Then came the speculation. Some insiders claimed the encounter was interpreted as a mutual warning, a reminder that everyone involved has reach, presence, and influence in places people don't expect. Others believed the silence meant something bigger was being prepared behind the scenes. And in street culture, preparation is far more dangerous than reaction. What made fans even more uneasy was the timing. This run-in didn't happen during an active public beef. There was no official back and forth. No headline conflict. That made the encounter feel random, and randomness in situations like this often leads to misinterpretation. One wrong assumption. One misunderstood move. One person acting without full context. That's how situations spiral. People close to the scene later suggested that both sides deliberately avoided escalation that night out of respect for what could happen if things went left. Not fear, awareness. Awareness that once something starts between camps like these, there's no easy off switch. And that awareness may have been the real message. Shortly after, fans noticed something else. The narratives online began to shift. Certain blogs avoided mentioning names. Comment sections became more divided. Some people downplayed the encounter, while others quietly warned that this wasn't over. Because when nothing happens immediately, it often means everyone is waiting. Waiting to see who blinks first. Waiting to see who slips up. Waiting for a moment where responsibility can be denied. Then came the theories. Some believe this run-in closed a door, that both sides silently agreed this was a line that didn't need to be crossed further. A moment of mutual recognition where escalation would only lead to unnecessary losses. Others believe the opposite. They think the encounter planted a seed. A reminder. A message delivered without words. And seeds like that don't always grow overnight. Sometimes they sit dormant until the conditions are right. That's what has fans nervous. Because in the past, some of the biggest conflicts in hip-hop didn't start with disses or public drama. They started with quiet moments like this. Moments that didn't make headlines until it was too late. And what makes this situation even more complex is the people connected on both sides. Affiliates. Friends. Friends of friends. People who may not even be directly involved, but could still act on assumptions. That's where things get unpredictable. One insider summed it up best. It wasn't about what happened that night. It was about what could have happened, and the fact that everyone there knew it. Since then, neither camp has directly addressed the situation. No confirmation. No denial. Just silence. And silence, in this context, isn't peaceful, it's heavy. Fans continue to debate whether this was the end of a story or the start of a much darker chapter. Because in street politics, unresolved tension doesn't disappear. It just waits. And the scariest part? When something finally does happen, if it does, it won't come with a warning. No countdown. No announcement. Just a moment that suddenly makes everyone look back and say, that night, that's where it really began. For now, the streets remain quiet. Too quiet. And as history has shown time and time again, when the noise finally returns, it's never subtle. Stay locked in. The streets staying quiet wasn't peace. It was pressure. After weeks passed with no public response, no viral clips, and no direct words from either side, one thing became clear to everyone watching closely. This situation wasn't forgotten, it was being absorbed. In street culture, time doesn't erase tension. It sharpens it. People began to realize that the real story wasn't about that one night anymore. It was about what that moment represented. Two powerful circles crossing paths unexpectedly, recognizing each other instantly, and choosing restraint, not because they had to, but because they understood the cost of escalation. That understanding is rare. And dangerous. Behind the scenes, life didn't stop. Music dropped. Interviews happened. Social media kept moving. But something was different. The tone changed. Words were chosen more carefully. Movements felt more deliberate. It was as if everyone involved knew that one careless action could reopen a door they had just barely managed to close. Fans started reading between the lines. Lyrics that once felt aggressive now sounded more reflective. Lines about loyalty, betrayal, and survival hit harder. Some listeners thought they were coincidences. Others were convinced messages were being sent, not to the public, but to specific ears. Because that's how it works when situations reach this level. You don't speak loudly. You speak precisely. The biggest question remained unanswered. Was that run in the end, or the warning? Some insiders believe that night served as a silent agreement. An unspoken understanding that both sides had too much to lose, too many people connected, and too much history watching. A realization that sometimes the smartest move is to let a moment pass without turning it into a headline. Others aren't so convinced. They argue that unresolved tension never truly disappears. It just waits for the wrong person to misinterpret silence as weakness. And in environments like this, it doesn't take much, a rumor, a comment, a misunderstood look, for everything to unravel. What makes this situation unique is how controlled it has remained. No leaks, no bragging, no clout chasing. That level of discipline suggests something deeper than internet beef. It suggests awareness, strategy, and perhaps mutual respect, not friendship, but recognition of boundaries. People close to the situation say that night forced everyone involved to zoom out and see the bigger picture. Not just the moment, but the ripple effects. Families, teams, careers, lives. When circles this powerful collide, the consequences don't stop with the people in the room. That's why the silence matters. Because silence means choices were made. As time passed, the internet slowly moved on, as it always does. New drama, new beefs, new viral moments. But real ones didn't forget. They remembered how fast the energy shifted, how quickly laughter stopped, how nobody wanted to be the reason something irreversible happened. That memory sticks. And it may be the reason nothing followed. Or it may be the reason something eventually will. History has shown that some of the most impactful moments in hip-hop aren't the loudest ones. They're the quiet crossroads, the moments where paths briefly intersect, and everyone involved realizes how close things came to going left. Those moments change behavior. They change perspective. They change futures. Right now, this story doesn't have a clean ending. And that's the truth. There was no explosion, no public victory, no clear winner. Just a reminder that behind the music, behind the fame, behind the internet personas, real-world consequences still exist. And maybe that's the most important takeaway. Because not every confrontation needs to end in chaos to matter. Some moments matter precisely because chaos was avoided, because restraint was chosen, because people understood that proving a point wasn't worth paying the ultimate price. For now, the streets remain quiet. But anyone who truly understands this world knows one thing for certain. Silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is being considered. And if this story ever does resurface, if that quiet ever breaks, people will look back at that night and realize it wasn't just a random encounter. It was a line. A moment where things could have gone one way, but didn't. At least not yet. And in a culture where every move is watched, every silence analyzed, and every encounter remembered, that might be the loudest message of all. If you made it this far, you already know this wasn't just another internet story. This was one of those moments where the streets spoke without saying a word. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think this run-in was the end of the situation, or was it a silent warning that something bigger is still coming? Drop your thoughts in the comments, but keep it respectful. Some of the best conversations happen when people see the situation from different angles, and I read every single comment. If this video gave you a deeper understanding of what really goes on behind the scenes in hip-hop, make sure you hit that like button. It helps push this video to more people who care about real stories, not just headlines. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. We don't chase clout, we don't spread rumors, we break down real situations, real tension, and real consequences the way they actually happen. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video, because stories like this don't always end when the video does. Sometimes they continue when nobody is looking, and when they do, you'll want to be here first. This channel is for people who pay attention to the details, who understand that silence can be louder than noise, and who want the full picture, not just the viral clip. Stay locked in, stay informed, and remember, the quiet moments are usually the ones that matter most.